Tonight, blocked from being a Labour candidate. Jeremy Corbyn's 4 decades representing Islington North with the party are over, says Keir Starmer. But will that stop him standing again?
I love Jeremy because he's a good guy.
Would you vote for him as an independent?
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you vote for him if he was an independent?
Yes, I would.
Would you vote for Jeremy Corbyn if he stood as an independent?
100%. Nothing wrong with Jeremy Corbyn.
Also on the programme, despite growing opposition from his own side, the Mayor doubles down on his controversial ULEZ plans. I'll be speaking to him live. A horrendous tragedy. The family of Emma Patterson paid tribute to she and her daughter Letty, saying they were inseparable. Using drama in the fight for justice, the Grenfell inquiry on stage.
And the atmosphere is buzzing here tonight outside the Emirates Stadium as Arsenal prepare for their clash against Man City.
Good evening. Jeremy Corbyn will not be standing as a Labour MP at the next election. That's an order by the party's leader, Sir Keir Starmer, who says Labour has changed and they are not going back. The Islington North MP had been suspended as a Labour MP after an inquiry into the party found failures in its dealings with allegations of anti-Semitism during his leadership. The question now is, will Mr Corbyn stand as an MP under a different banner? Our political correspondent Simon Harris has more.
Jeremy Corbyn was in no mood to answer questions. He didn't know it, but his successor as Labour leader was about to deliver a crushing blow.
Jeremy Corbyn will not stand for Labour at the next general election as a Labour Party candidate.
Jeremy Bernard Corbyn, Labour Party.
Less than a year after he was re-elected as Islington North MP, an investigation into anti-Semitism in the Labour Party concluded there were serious failings in leadership under Mr Corbyn. But this was his response.
The numbers have been exaggerated, in my view.
That led to him losing the Labour whip, and now Sir Keir Starmer's ruling on his future.
It's not a question of what Keir is doing, it's what Jeremy himself has brought on himself from what he did in the past, what he did today. He only has himself to blame.
In November, I asked Mr Corbyn about his future as an MP.
Will you be Labour's candidate in Islington North at the next election?
I hope so. I hope that the party reinstates the whip to me, which in my view should never have been removed.
But he also refused to rule out fighting his North London seat as an independent candidate. At the last election, more than 34,000 people in Islington North voted for Jeremy Corbyn. The constituency is regarded as an ultra-safe Labour seat, but that might change if he stands as an independent. In his constituency, in Finsbury Park, it wasn't hard to find Corbyn fans.
I love Jeremy because he's a good guy.
Would you vote for him as an independent?
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you vote for him if he was an independent?
Yes, I would. I would. Because he's done quite a lot for this Islington North.
Would you vote for Jeremy Corbyn if he stood as an independent?
100%. Nothing wrong with Jeremy Corbyn.
I'll be voting for Jeremy, and I'm sure he'll win.
Jeremy Corbyn isn't just a regular customer at Gat's Cafe, he's also a popular dish. The owner, Hussein, created it for him and named it after him.
The name is Jeremy Corbyn dish, is vegetarian, special falafel for him. A lot of people, they love him, this meal. They come here, they said, give me 2 Jeremy Corbyn dish.
Sources close to Mr Corbyn say he now plans to speak directly to local Labour Party members before revealing his next move. Simon Harris, ITV News, Islington.
Sadiq Khan is under growing pressure to back down on plans to expand the ultra-low emission zone, or ULEZ. MPs from his own party, as well as union leaders, have said it's the last thing Londoners need during the cost of living crisis. This evening, the Mayor will attend a special event to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the death of 9-year-old Ella Adu Kissi Deborah, who was the first person to have air pollution listed as their cause of death. There, the Mayor will push his plans for cleaner air. Sam Holder has more.
There is no shortage of critics lining up to call on the Mayor to put the brakes on ULEZ expansion. And now even some of Sadiq Khan's should-be allies are turning on his plans. 4 London Labour MPs have publicly come out against the new zone, which they say will harm some of the poorest who need to drive for work and are already struggling with the cost of living crisis.
It's not an easy thing to do, to say to your own Labour mayor, actually, we know that you're really committed to this policy and you're doing it for the best of reasons, because who wouldn't want to clean our air? But is now the right time to be doing that?
Will you be asking Keir Starmer to intervene?
I haven't really thought about that as yet. What I would like the mayor to do is to really think about, is this the time?
In just over 6 months' time, ULEZ will be expanded across all London boroughs. Vehicles with emissions over the limit will have to pay £12.50 a day. The GMB union is also publicly asking the mayor to delay.
The voices are coming loud and clear throughout the capital and the outskirts of the capital, how people feel about this, and it is very much what I would call a Marmite issue. It's certainly.
Do you think the mayor will listen?
We're hoping he will.
But for air quality campaigners, timing is of the essence. Ella Deborah lost her life 10 years ago today. She was just 9. Living close to the South Circular, air pollution was officially listed as a cause of death.
ULEZ does not extend to the South Circular, which is the road that ultimately cost Ella's life, and Lewisham still has a high rate of asthma. So of course I want it to cover the South Circular and North Circular. Of course I want it to. And that's all I can say on that. And I do apologise to people, and I know I've been listening to people ring up radio stations and how hard it's going to hit certain people going to see their families, people's businesses, but ultimately for me it has always been about the health of our nation.
London's air quality has long been of concern, and the mayor has long made it a priority. But even some of his own supporters feel uneasy at the sudden ULEZ expansion plans. Sam Holder, ITV News.
Well, the Mayor Sadiq Khan joins me now. Hello, Mr. Khan. As Sam just said there, clearly you see this as a priority, and it also seems clear that you see this as a big moral argument. You've talked about life and death being on the right side of history. That's not in doubt. But why won't you heed the calls to delay the start of the expansion?
I've spent this evening with Rosamond, Ella's mum. Toxic air is a matter of life and death. It's a fact that every year in our great city around 4,000 people die prematurely directly because of the poison in our air. There are children with stunted lungs forever because of the air pollution, and adults with a whole host of health issues, from asthma to cancer, from dementia to heart disease. It's the poorest Londoners, least likely to own a car, who suffer the worst consequences. What is the price of a life lost? What is the price of a mother having to do CPR on her child? How can we excuse delay when we know every day delayed means 5 million Londoners in outer London breathing in more poisonous air than those in central and inner London?
But this year, of all years, when Londoners are struggling, and you talked about the poorest Londoners, it is among the poorest, the people who have the worst cars, the people that need them to get to jobs, to run their small businesses. Why won't you just delay it by a certain period of time?
Well, in fact, it's the poorest Londoners who don't own cars. Half of Londoners don't own a car. And actually, 10 years ago, a former mayor, Boris Johnson, had a report which showed the air in our city was poisonous, with more than 150 schools in areas where the air is unlawful. We've waited 10 years since that report, but because I understand the struggles families are facing, the struggles small businesses, sole traders and charities are facing, we've launched the biggest ever scrappage scheme this country's ever seen. More than £171 million, £170 million I announced 2 weeks ago to support low-income families, to support sole traders, to support small businesses, to support charities. Not a penny of money given by the government, but we're supporting those families, those charities, those sole traders, those small businesses that will need support moving from a pollution vehicle to a cleaner vehicle. And I'll make this point. It's those people driving these cars who are breathing the poison, and their kids in the back seats breathing in this poison. It's those sole traders, those small businesses who become unwell, get asthma and die prematurely, and that's why we can't delay.
So why do you think there is so much anger then from people living in the outer boroughs, the people who need their cars not to come into central London to work, but to get across their local towns, to run errands, to take people to school, to go to work, to get to their businesses? Why are they so angry with you then?
There was a vocal minority opposing the ultra-low emission zone when we first introduced it in 2017 when I announced it. There was a vocal minority opposing the expansion to inner London when I announced it in 2019, and there's a vocal minority opposed to the expansion to all of London. I make this point. I was a Member of Parliament in 2006 when we voted to ban smoking in public places. Again then, there was a vocal minority opposing those plans. We were told smoking was the only luxury working class people had. We were told pubs, bars, restaurants would close down if you couldn't smoke indoors. Now we think it's madness that smoking wasn't banned in public places sooner. In the 1950s, when the Great Smog was taking over our city and thousands died during the course of a single week, you could see the poison. You could see the poison when it came to tobacco, but we can't see the particulate matters, we can't see the nitrogen oxide, we can't see the nitrogen oxide, so people can't see this poison, which is why they believe the lies being told by those who oppose the expansion.
Well, on that point, lies, and you keep on saying vocal minority, well, let's just have a look at who have joined that vocal minority. As well as the Tory, Lib Dem and now some Labour councils and councillors, you've got the unions and you've got Labour MPs. Abena Apongasari concerned people are going to be worse off. Siobhan McDonough, another unwelcome hit on working people. Seema Malhotra, a disproportionate effect on lower income families. Are they all lying? Are your fellow Labour colleagues lying?
Well, this shows it's above party politics. This shows it's because of a public health crisis. That's one of the reasons why we've announced the biggest scrappage scheme in history, £110 million 2 weeks ago, on top of £61 million a couple of years ago. You can't escape the fact, though, that every year around 4,000 people are dying prematurely. Imperial College, one of the world's finest universities, says that. Some people try and deny the science. Some people say delay the action, notwithstanding the science. They should spend time going to Great Ormond Street, speaking to the parents whose kids need to have CPR done on them to bring them back to life, to the Evelina Children's Hospital. They should speak to the clinicians at University College London hospitals. They should speak to some of the parents. I've spoken to some of the experts. These same issues were raised in 2006 when it came to banning smoking in public places. Same issues have been raised in the 1950s when it came to the Great Smog. The same issues have been raised in 2017 when I first introduced the ultra-low emission zone. We've known for 10 years that in the poorest parts of London, our children are breathing in poison. I'm not willing to wait any longer than we have to.
OK, Mr Khan on the South Bank, thank you very much. Simon's back with me now. He's not backing down, is he?
Absolutely no sign of compromise there, and we heard him dismiss the critics as the vocal minority. I don't think anyone's expecting Sadiq Khan to give ground at this point, but make no mistake, I think officials at City Hall are concerned about the backlash. And someone else has joined the fray tonight. Former Prime Minister, former Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, has released a full-throttle attack in a video message on Twitter in which he describes the ULEZ expansion as a mad lefty tax, both unreasonable and unnecessary because all cars will be greener and cleaner by 2030, and he accuses the mayor of trying to wanting to rake in money after bankrupting TfL. Mr Khan would point out that it was the pandemic that really did for TfL's finances.
Yeah, so the two sides really digging in, but Sadiq Khan looking lonelier on his side, perhaps. Simon, thank you. Detectives are reopening the investigation into the death of a student whose body was found in the Thames in 1997. Ricky Reel was 20 when he went missing while on a night out. The Met says the inquiry will be looked at with fresh eyes. It's been welcomed by Ricky's mum, who has spent the last 25 years desperate for answers. She's been speaking to Divya Kohli.
When Sukhdev's son Ricky died 25 years ago, she made a promise to him to get justice and find his killer. She believes Ricky was murdered and has campaigned ever since he died to find out what happened to him. She may now be a step closer to that, with the Met Police announcing they will review the investigation into his death.
Well, I want them to start from day one, the day Ricky went missing, carry out a fresh investigation and tell us what happened to Ricky. We need to know. We need to find peace within ourselves, within our family, and the only time the peace will come is when we know what happened to Ricky.
Student Ricky Reel went missing after a night out with friends in Kingston in October 1997. The group of 4, who were all South Asian, say they were subjected to a racist attack by 2 white men. 3 of them regrouped but couldn't find Ricky. He was found dead in the River Thames a week later. Met Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley met Sukhdev at the family home last month with assurances of exploring every possible avenue into the case. A case Sukhdev says has been fraught with police failings, which she says were rooted in racism.
Well, for the last 25 years, there hasn't been a night I have slept throughout the night. I just can't relax, I can't eat, I can't drink, and I get nightmares. Because I haven't fulfilled my promise to Ricky, and also the fact that somebody had killed him.
CCTV of 2 potential suspects were released, but no one was ever arrested or charged in connection with Ricky's death. The Met says new lines will be looked at with fresh eyes and the benefit of modern technology.
Well, 25 years on, you're not going to have the forensics there. Some of the witnesses may have passed away, but what it may do is prompt somebody's conscience to come forward. Maybe somebody knows who these 2 white men were who attacked a group of Asian men who had gone out.
Sukhdev says the time for words has gone. She and her family need to see action to end more than 25 years of anguish. Divya Kohli, ITV News.
Police have said a missing 13-year-old girl may have avoided going home, but are appealing for anyone who might know where she is to come forward. Tomorrow, it will be 1 week since Mariama Callan was last seen in Bermondsey. Police say she has gone missing before, but has been out of contact for longer than usual. Next tonight, the family of the head teacher who was found dead alongside her daughter at Epsom College have spoken today of their heartbreak. The bodies of Emma Patterson and 7-year-old Letty were found on the college grounds alongside Emma's husband George earlier this month. Our reporter Danny Sinha is here with me now. Danny, what have they had to say?
Well, of course, this is a tragic case and one that caused great shock, wasn't it? You'll remember earlier this month, George Patterson, he shot his wife and his daughter in the grounds of Epsom College before turning the gun on himself. Well, tonight, the family have issued a new photograph of Emma Patterson, who, of course, was the head teacher at Epsom College, and her daughter Letty, who was just 7 years old. They have also been speaking out. They say she was everything one could hope for in a daughter: sister, mother, wife, friend, teacher, and so much more. We are an extremely close family, and family was at the centre of Emma and Letty's universe. They go on to say 7-year-old Letty was Emma's pride and joy, an adorable, vibrant little girl with a compelling curiosity, a heart-melting smile, and an intellect beyond her years. The 2 of them were inseparable, and we take comfort in that they will remain so. So a touching tribute there from the family. They say they're grateful for all the messages of support, of which there are many that they have received.
Danny, thank you. Now, a new theatre production is shining a light on some of the vital questions around the Grenfell Tower fire, in which 72 people lost their lives. It's called Grenfell System Failure and uses the testimonies of bereaved families who took part in the final phase of the inquiry. Rax Martel has more.
Could I respectfully remind you...
The Grenfell inquiry as a play.
I have changed my schedule to fit this in.
Dramatising the words as they were delivered.
But this is more important than anything.
But this is more important than anything. But I would urge you to use your time wisely.
Watching rehearsals, one of the lawyers who represented the bereaved and survivors.
What's it like seeing yourself performed on stage?
It's odd and surreal, but Tanveer has managed to pick up my mannerisms, delivery, and appearance to a certain extent. I suspect lots of people have heard of Grenfell in this country. They've read the headlines, but they don't know the detail. And so to condense what happened in a couple of hours and to put out the highlights or lowlights, whichever way you look at it, people are going to be shocked, as I was during the course of the inquiry, to hear the things that we heard.
Goodbye. I'm leaving this world.
System Failure is the second instalment from Nicholas Kent and Richard Norton-Taylor.
These are the diaries and notebooks, or daybooks, of Peter Mann.
Their claimed first part, value engineering, was even watched by the Housing Secretary Michael Gove, who was then booed by the audience.
The government failed to regulate the building materials that were put on the cladding of that building, and that's a scandal.
A unique disaster in a sense, and absolutely avoidable. And the evidence shows that. The legacy, of course, is a lot of other people living in tower blocks which are clad in the similar dangerous material.
Why did you choose aluminium composite material?
Even the actor reading the inquiry transcripts is shocked at the failures.
When they're putting up buildings that we all go in and our children go in, and the way they just don't care. Grenfell is like a terrible monument to how awful some people are about doing a good job.
Nobody from the TMO or the council called us.
Also represented in the play, Hisham Shukair, who lost 6 members of his family in the tower.
The Grenfell inquiry uncovered so many system failures, to use the title of the play. How frustrating is it that almost 6 years after Grenfell now, there have still been no prosecutions?
It's like a knife in your heart. But as long as we fulfill our objective, which is to make sure that this doesn't happen again and things do change, I'm prepared to take that dagger in my heart. But as long as, you know, it gives me the outcome of what I want, which is the justice, things to change, and for this never to happen again.
System failure opens at the Playground Theatre in North Kensington on Saturday. Frank Martel, ITV News.
Now to football, and the excitement's building ahead of Arsenal's big match tonight. They take on Man City at the Emirates Stadium, and Mahathir Pasha is there for us now. Mahathir, a lot riding on tonight then.
That's right, Duncan. Arsenal, who are currently enjoying top spot of the Premier League, are set to battle it out against reigning champions Manchester City later tonight here at the Emirates. And it's really tight at the top. Arsenal are in first position, Manchester City in second. So it's a truly important game, and it is all to play for. This is going to be an agonising watch for Arsenal fans around the country, as the club hasn't been this close to winning the Prem in almost 20 years.
Man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
My life was made for this type of moment.
Bit nervous, but excited at the same time.
Feeling good, confident. Think we do better when we're underdogs. Think going into it, we're the underdogs clearly. We've not been in the best of form last few games. But yeah, today's the day.
Yeah, Mahathir, Arsenal haven't had a great run recently, have they?
Yeah, and Arsenal have actually lost their last few Premier League fixtures against Man City, so the pressure and the scrutiny is going to be really high for club manager Mikel Arteta. But the atmosphere here tonight is electric. You can truly feel the buzz. Whether or not things stay that way, we'll find out shortly after the game.
OK, fingers crossed. Mahathir, thank you, at the Emirates Stadium there. Let's get a reminder now of our main headlines in London this evening. Jeremy Corbyn will not stand as a Labour Party candidate at the next general election. Today, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer accepted the findings of a human rights report and vowed to drive out anti-Jewish racism within the party. And pressure is growing on the Mayor to back down on plans to expand the ultra-low emission zone from MPs from his own party as well as union leaders. On to the weather now. Here's James Wright with the forecast.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello, good evening. All change weather-wise after some cool nights and mild days and lots of sunshine. We've already got this band of cloud moving through, 1 or 2 patches of rain on that. It's chained up to this next system that's going to bring more cloud, more outbreaks of rain by the end of the night. A little bit breezier through the overnight period, but it's still moving in from the south, and as a result it's going to be a much milder night than we've seen over the last few. So frost-free and lows of 4 to 6. Tomorrow then, a much different feeling day compared to today. lots more cloud around, a few more outbreaks of patchy rain. If we are lucky, we might see a few brighter breaks later on in the afternoon pushing in from the north and west, but you might have to wait until just before the sun goes down to see that. As far as temperatures go, well, slightly down on today, but still remarkable considering the lack of that winter sunshine, topping out at around 12 or 13 Celsius. And this pattern of more cloud, outbreaks of rain continues as we head towards the weekend. We've got high pressure to the south, we've got these lows to the north, and we're sort of trapped in the middle. So we will see little bits of dampness from time to time, a lot of cloud as we head through the weekend. But notice where the air is coming from, up from the sort of mid-Atlantic. So it's going to remain mild over the next few days. In fact, on Friday itself, I think we could be seeing highs of around 15, maybe 16 Celsius. And that's accompanied by quite strong winds, particularly through the Thames estuary. As far as Saturday goes, hopefully a little bit more in the way of brightness. The wind will have dropped out, so 13 Celsius if you get a few bright spells, won't feel too bad at all. And then slightly cooler, slightly cloudier, slightly damper as we head into Sunday. Have a good evening.
ITV London Weekday Weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
And that is it. Stay with us for the ITV Evening News with Mary next. And we are back with our late update tonight. Until then, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.